So welcome to class. It's Wednesday night. Yeah. And for those of you online, welcome along to the class. So as you can see, we're up to class 7 on this transforming problems into happiness. And we'll begin by, in the same way that we normally do, by doing a very short breathing and relaxation meditation. We'll say some prayers together and then the class will begin. So please get comfortable in your seat. Allow the body to relax, and then have the body breathe itself. And feeling the body breathe itself, relax into awareness. Let the environment become completely pure. The ground itself become like the palm of your hand and as smooth as lapis lazuli. In the space, imagine that it's filled with offerings from gods and men, both set out and imagined. And in the space in front of you, on a lion throne, on a cushion of lotus, sun and moon, sits Buddha Shakyamuni. The essence of all of our kind teachers. And he is surrounded by the assembly of direct and indirect teachers, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, deities, heroes, solitary conquerors, and the protectors of the Dharma. And in their presence, you have a wish that your own mind become the Dharma. And that Dharma becomes a path, and that path is free of all hindrances. And knowing that this highly meaningful, perfect human rebirth that you have is difficult to obtain and easily lost. And realize that the profundity of cause and effect and the unbearable sufferings of the lower realms, from your heart, you wish to take refuge in the three precious sublime ones. To abandon negativity and to practice virtue in accordance with the Dharma. And you want the field of refuge in front of you to bless you with the potential to accomplish this. And so you say, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. From the hearts of each refuge object, lights and nectars stream down, and they dissolve into yourself and all living beings who surround you. Negative karma and obstructions are purified. Your lifespan is increased. And virtues and Dharma realizations flourish. So cleansed by wisdom and love, you recollect the four immeasurable thoughts of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And you decide to develop these yourself and to establish all beings in those four boundless states. So you say, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. From the heart of each refuge object, lights and nectars stream down and dissolve into yourself and all living beings, purifying negative karma and obstructions, increasing your lifespan, your virtues, and Dharma realizations. So you steady yourself to clear away the obvious and subtle causes of trauma by inviting the field for accumulating merit. They appear in front of you, and you say, reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of psychic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own enhanced merits as great enlightenment. Now, to accumulate more merit, we generate a new pure land for the Buddha. We offer this pure land of the Buddha to him and his entourage. And so say, this ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents of southern world, I imagine this as a Buddha field offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratnamandala Kamuriyatayam. So the Buddha accepts your offering and he smiles and you meet his gaze. And in his eyes you find immense humility and kindness. And you request your root guru to come and sit on the lotus and moon seat on your own crown. And out of his great kindness, to bring about attainments for your own body, speech, and mind. So your guru leaves the field for accumulating merit, comes to the crown of your head, and makes the following request with you. Please pour down inspiring blessings upon oneself and all your mothers, that you may quickly stop all perverse forms of mind, from disrespect to your kind teacher to the most subtle dualistic appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings so that we may all quickly generate pure minds, from respect for our kind teacher to the supreme mind of union. And to please pour down your inspiring blessings to pacify all outer, inner, and secret obstructions. And from the heart of each holy being within that field for accumulating merit, streams of light and nectar pour down. They grant blessings and purification. Now recollect any of these 3 principal aspects of the path. Then imagine from the heart of Buddha Shakyamuni, infinite light rays emanate, reaching all environments and all beings. These all dissolve into light and gradually gather into the field of merit. The field of merit dissolves into the central figure, Buddha Shakyamuni. It then dissolves into your root guru at your crown. instantly transforming him into the aspect of Guru Buddha Shakyamuni. He diminishes in size, enters through your crown, and descends to your heart. His mind and your mind become of one nature. And you recite the mantra, Tayata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Sukha. Tayata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Sukha. Tayata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Sukha. Now from your heart, rays of light fill the 10 directions of space. All beings transform into a fully enlightened, awakened state. And the light which fills the 10 directions of space begins to withdraw and it re-enters your heart. Feel your body breathing itself. We acknowledge this meditation has been one of imagination, but it has imprinted the mind. It's provided a condition for your full awakening. So I think that we have to, you and I, we have to rely upon authentic teachers, teachings, and community to bring about full awakening for ourselves and others. And decide to do that. And then breathing in deeply through your nostrils. Exhale through your mouth. Allow your eyes to flutter open. And in your own time, just bring your awareness back to the screen or to the class. Okay, so let's see where we're up to. We've covered the preliminary practices. We've looked at the 8 worldly concerns. We took some time to look at equanimity, the basis of the development of all the spiritual qualities. And basically, we've gone through 6 of these 8 verses of the 8 verses of thought transformation by Geshe Langri Tangpa. So today we have like a very brief review. Then we're going to be looking at the main topic of this verse, which is really about changing one's attitude. To develop this, and then the changing of the attitude, a practice called Tonglen, just also known as giving and taking. And to remember that the essence of this practice is really about the development of courage. For the courage to face suffering and the courage to do something about it. Now, this verse has been discussed in all of these books here. So most of these books here have to do with the practice of bodhicitta and the learning of this practice called giving and taking, or Tonglen. There's very good descriptions in these books and explanations of the practice. Now, when we go through the 8 verses, as we have done, we should remember that the first verse was about cherishing others, and the second was how to enhance that cherishing love. The third verse talked about how we need to keep an eye on the mind itself to drive out afflictions. The number one affliction that works against cherishing others is our anger. And so we need to find antidotes. Then we want to extend and deepen our compassion. And the fifth verse talks about extending and deepening love. Verse 6, which we've covered, talks about this voluntarily enduring suffering. And today we're looking at this ability to change one's attitude in the face of suffering. Next week, we'll be looking again at how we can maintain pure practice. Now, the verse itself, verse 7, goes like this. So as you can see, it says, in brief, I will train myself to offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly, and secretly take upon myself all the hurts and pains of my mothers. So I'll just give you a really quick rundown of the lines and the meaning here, and then we'll go through a bit slower and take each aspect of the verse. So in brief means in conclusion. So there's 6 verses beforehand, so it's in brief is saying that in dependence upon those 6 causes, in conclusion, I will train myself. So this means that we're going to have to rely on a spiritual friend. Because if you try and do this practices without it, you wouldn't be able to. We need someone to help us understand what it means, and also a friend who's actually engaged in the practices. So also who's got a bit of experience behind them. We want this spiritual friend to be one who has a Mahayana disposition. I'll train myself to offer. So the offer here means selfless generosity. So in other words, to give love and courage selflessly. Benefit means whatever others need, be it food, shelter, money, medicine. And joy refers to our happiness, good qualities, wisdom and virtue. Both directly and indirectly. So directly means directly, like helping somebody. If you can help somebody, you do it. Indirectly means through our imagination. So we imagined taking away the sufferings from others and giving them everything that they need. Where directly, we try to actually take away their suffering by lending an ear, lending an arm, a cup of tea, giving them what they want. And this word secretly basically means, like, this is very difficult to do. And it's sort of done on the breath. So every time you breathe in and out, you can do this practice. So nobody really knows but you. This is what it's sort of like secretly. And the word secret also means it's really not for those who are unfamiliar with or a beginner on the Mahayana path. You need quite a bit of background to do these trainings. A good understanding of emptiness really helps. Of course, if one didn't have that, you can still do it, of course. But I think you need a good teacher to really explain what's going on. Because I remember when I did this, and with no understanding of emptiness at all, I did one breath, one exhalation, that was it. I'm not doing this. It was like, whoa, it was too much for me. It was like really, funny sort of effect on me. And I was just like, oh, no, I don't think this is what's meant to happen. And so I just sort of had to put it aside for a while. And like I said, so this could easily happen to anybody who doesn't have some insight and some explanation of what's going on.
Actually, even Geshe Zopa said when he was really young and he first did this practice, he got really scared because he thought it would, it would actually happen. And he was really terrified to take on all of the sicknesses. And so he was assuring us, it's okay, it's not going to affect you like that, but the fear's there.
Yeah, the fear's there. And I know it's like, I'm what do you call it, reckless. So I did not have much fear, I'd just do it. But then, of course, you get the effect. It's like, I was like, oh, okay, it's too much. Just have to put it aside. And in fact, when Miffy's mother, Inter, gave us a commentary on this text, I don't know, was this text or 7-point mind training, but in both of them, they do this practice. And in it, she put this thing, and simply take upon myself. So there had to be this little thing about this word self, what that meant. Because you're not taking it upon your conventionally existent self, which it just looks like you are, doesn't it? Just think, I'll take it on me, I can do it. And then you find you can't. And that's because your object is the wrong object. Yes? Yeah.
I don't know if this is naive on my behalf, but I always used to think the secret was to not go, oh, by the way, I'm taking on the void of pains and suffering. Just so you know, like, is that part of it or not really?
No, that is also part of it. It should be kept to oneself. Because that sort of sets up a sense of arrogance or pride, doesn't it? And you're in trouble again.
And people will say, but I never asked you to. How dare you?
Yes, that also happens.
Or they might say, I've still got some. So you can have some more.
Sandy, you were the same?
I was going to say, that sort of feeds self-cherishing.
Saying
Yes,
it,
right.
Yeah.
They call it virtue signaling now.
So there are, the way I've normally explained this is the way in terms of the practice, where you do the taking first and then you do the giving. But then you can see here, it often says, it does say take upon myself all the hurts and pains of my mothers. In some texts, it's sort of set up where it looks like you, it says here, no, take upon myself. So it looks like the taking comes first, right? And in fact, it does. But many times when they explain it, they do the giving first. They don't explain it, how it's actually done. So this is not an uncommon thing. Right? Many times when you read the text, so this is a mistake I made as a beginner, I would read the material and think, oh, that's how you do it, because that's how it's explained. But many times that's not how you do it. In fact, you might do it quite differently than how you read it. So just bear this in mind. When you go to try and practice some of these things, it might not be in the way that you've read it. Yeah.
Just on that note, I remember Geshe Janyang taught on that verses years ago, and I thought he said directly meant giving happiness and indirectly meant taking away suffering. Or it might have been the other way around, but when it came to directly and indirectly, it was something like that interpretation. So are there a few different ways to interpret the words?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So one thing you can nearly always be sure of, there's more than two ways.
So is that why you need to have a spiritual friend to be able to, I don't want to say talk it, but just to guide and... Yeah,
and some practice like this, lots of strange things can happen to you. But like I say, you do this practice, directly going against your own self-cherishing. The normal way you've behaved all your life, you're working against that. The stuff's going to happen to you. And you want somebody that you can share this stuff with to check. Because you might think, like, I'm going crazy. Surely this can't be what's going on. And if you don't have somebody to talk to about it, well, you'll think, I'm going crazy. In fact, I was telling you the other day about a young woman who was given a practice by her guru. And she went away and was doing the practice, and we went back to see him to have a talk, just like this, to check up. And so she said to him, whenever I do this practice, what I see and what I feel like is me stabbing you and cutting you up to pieces. That's what it feels like, right? Anyway, her lama just...
And so can I stop doing the
Yeah,
practice?
it's like something must be wrong here, right? These violent actions against my friend, my spiritual friend. Something's wrong. And so she went back and said to him, this is what's going on. And he just burst out laughing, cracked up and was rolling back, and then he's going, it's perfect, it's great, it's going really good. That's what's good. Keep going. So this is this thing that you got to check, because remember these things, it's like an ordinary mind, your ordinary thoughts, and you think they're true. And what appears to you think, oh, this is a terrible thing. But like I said, the Lama never saw that.
I wouldn't say it.
No, I know. See, that's the thing. So this is, again, a big problem with us as Westerners. We haven't developed confidence in the teacher. So we hide things. We hide it. You think, I'm a bad person. A person, surely I'm practicing Dharma, I should feel things and see things like that. How can I say something to my teacher that I love and respect? And so what happens?
And so what happened with her?
Sorry?
What with her?
Oh, yeah. So she became the first Western French woman to do the 3-year retreat in France. Out of this.
So clearly not doing something wrong.
No, you're not doing.
That like a purification of her
Yeah,
ego,
yeah.
her whatever it was.
Yeah, all of it is. It's like often like an analogy of washing clothes, right? You put dirty clothes in the wash. Well, guess what comes out?
Dirt.
Dirt.
Yes.
Right. So that's what's your mind. You should chuck out the dirt, throw up all these deep held psychological creepiness you've got, all the rest, right? So it comes out, it's like it's exposed. It's thrown out in the open.
So it's like her shadow.
Yeah, you can look at that. Yeah, but again, then we grasp at it and think it's true. Right? The appearance is true. And we're right where we always were. So we need somebody to help us. In that way, you just laugh.
Yes.
Because when I read this, I read it, and I looked at it and I thought, yeah, because of course this guy knows the nature of the mind. He's a highly realized person. This guy was. He was a teacher of the Dalai Lama. They're really good mates. This guy, he cracked up laughing. Yeah, he knows the nature of mind. So some of you who might have been to Corey's teachings, he said, your mind can't hurt you. But of course, the images and the memories, that throws them out, and then we think they're true. And we hold them to be true. And then we get these terrible effects. But if we could just look and let them go, they will go. As I said, the problem here is the clinging, the grasping to appearances to be real and true. Appearances exist, but they're empty of that true existence. They don't have any true existence. So we need to sort of take these words that I've just said, perhaps get a book like Appearing and Empty, and you read, and it makes sense to you. And then you try it out. Like any, just recently I read a great explanation by Langri Tangpa. So he said, so thoughts are like rays of sunlight. What you've got to do is to look into them, into the sun of your own mind, and they're all gone. And this is like a Mahamudra instruction. Because Maha means great and Mudra means seal. Everything is sealed with emptiness. If you look directly into phenomena, they vanish. They don't have the truth they appear to have. But you mustn't look. And that's the funny thing with most of us, we don't look, right? We just have the thoughts, and that's it for us. It's real. We start running. So, okay, that's just a little offshoot. Let's have a look what we mean by
Inspired by
giving.
getting over.
That's right. Let's have a look what we mean by giving, right? Hey, what's going on?
I think I've done something.
Yeah, I've got a
The
completely
wrong-
different set up. Oh my gosh, what is this one? Okay, I've got an old presentation. I have to do it off by memory. Don't worry, we're going to go back and do it the old way, taking suffering.
I can just get a different slide up because I have here giving by means of love.
Yeah,
Is that
that's right. That's
Yeah.
what I've got in my book.
So I think I've just got, this one is wrong.
Mhm.
And,
But just see what's after too, please.
no, it is. It's
Okay.
it's just an order.
Yeah.
I've opened the wrong one and
So this is the explanation from probably last time we did it, and I wanted to change it all, and so I like to do that, keep it fresh.
so chapter 7. Let me just see. That's the one.
Great, that's anyway. Fantastic, thank you.
Okay.
Just before I could put on my grumpy face, I was saved.
You ask your Dharma friend.
So we begin by this, so explanation, we're going to be talking about giving first, although the practice begins with taking first. Explanation, often giving first. So this practice, giving, is like the sending part of the practice. What we mean here, we're sending out love, or we're giving love. And why? Because in samsara, there's no happiness anywhere. Everybody wants to be happy, but nobody is. And no matter how much of ordinary worldly happiness we have, it's never enough. So this sending practice involves visualizing oneself, giving everything to benefit others. And there are different ways you can do that. There are different visualizations. Sometimes you can visualize light coming out through your nostrils. Sometimes it's through your heart. Sometimes your heart transforms into a jewel and you send it out like that. Sometimes you actually put the deity above your head. If you think this is too heavy for me to do, I just imagine Chenrezig on my head and he does it. So there's different degrees or ways of practicing so you can gradually get at your fears. You don't have to go like I did, just let's go, and then go, oh, I can't do it. So you can have Chenrezig do it. And you can bring Chenrezig into your heart, and he does it. And you can have your heart transform into the jewel, until finally it's just on the breath. So you can imagine like a radiant jewel at your heart, emanating white light that provides all the necessities for all the beings, for their well-beings. And here you remember that all the beings around you are related to you. That they are seen to be your mothers, the most precious beings of all. So the visualization itself cultivates a sense of selflessness, generosity, and compassion. So the practice of sending aims to release our attachments and to cultivate a genuine selflessness. We begin by visualizing offering everything to our mothers, extending the compassion to all beings. And ultimately, we aspire to liberate all beings from suffering, replacing our egocentricity with a sense of universal peace. Now, the practice of Tonglen, the giving or the sending, is often recommended that we begin with ourselves. Now, I know many people in the West, I know that I've spoken to students, they don't do it like that. They don't seek someone that's even more selfish. And there are many people who want to help others but these others seem to them to be more important than themselves. So this is another mistake. We've got to see there's no difference between self and other. Others aren't intrinsically more important. There's no difference between ourselves. All of us possess Buddha nature. All of us are selfless. So we begin with oneself. And you start focusing on your future self, who you will be in the future, and what types of suffering you'll experience in the future. So all of us, if we live long enough, will be old, and we're going to get all the sufferings of the old. And all of us will be caring for ourselves, trying to do our best to avoid those different types of suffering. So the idea is now to go, okay, that's what's going to happen to me. Can I do something about that? Can I extend care and compassion to myself? Yeah, of course you can. You could do it in 10 years' time, or you could do it right now. So I can visually do it now. Physically actually do it, you might put some money away for your hospital fees, for your funeral, right? All these sort of things, don't we? Like the real, we really try and help our future. Visually, there's some things we just can't avoid. And so, but we can deal with it visually, imaginatively. Again, what's really interesting when you do this is how much resistance you can meet caring for yourself. And if you think about it, look back, you'll find this is not a new thing. This has come back from a long time ago. Most of us have had traumatic childhoods. It's like that. It's like something unworthy about me, something bad.
So Fran says it's a bit like one can't save a drowning person if they can't swim themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking you can't offer love if you yourself feel you don't have enough love.
For
You have
yourself.
to give yourself that love first.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it also for like Westerners, we're taught to put others first. We always are taught to put others first and yourself, otherwise you're selfish.
Yep, that's
so
right.
it's actually breaking down that barrier of putting yourself first.
Yes, that's right. And the problem, this is a great idea to put others, put others first, right? The problem is the misapprehension of how others exist than we ourselves. There's this deep wrong view of how the self and the other exists. So it's right to go put others first. But like you'll find, anybody who's tried to do this for a while, you can only do it for a little bit. Somewhere along the line will come, no, now it has to be me. And each time it's because of the wrong view of self and other. So what can we give to ourselves in the future? Well, there's two forms of happiness we could give to ourselves in the future. One's called contaminated happiness, which is the normal happiness we experience right now. Ordinary happiness. We will want to be happy ordinarily in the future, just like we want to be happy now. We're no different. But we know that happiness is, as we know, it's just like it is now, isn't it? It's not enough. Comes and goes. It's not stable. So we need to have the form of uncontaminated happiness. These are the true cessations and the positive qualities like love, compassion, so forth that we've developed on the path. So we've got happiness rooted in wisdom and just happiness rooted in method. Now this is how it's presented in the text, right? You go to the future. But I found through my own experience in thinking about this, that you can do this in relationship to your own past. You can heal your own wrong views of the past. So it works either way. Because remember, like the future is just an expression of the past, isn't it? future and past don't intrinsically exist either. They're just conceptual ideas.
So are you saying you can heal past traumas like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So this is like the same idea of when we do Vajrasattva practice, right? You imagine the white light purifying the past causes so that we don't have present suffering. So we're healing our past.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing how it is healing for yourself, because our sufferings are primarily rooted in just wrong ideas. And so we're just about washing out the wrong idea. That's what we're doing. Freeing the mind from the wrong idea. So we do it for ourselves, we get some confidence in that. Well, like I said, you can do it the other way, get some confidence in doing it for others, but you're going to have to come back for yourself. This is never going to work if it's lopsided. We are equal, equally desiring happiness, equally wishing to be free from suffering. If we just do it for others, we're not being equanimous. We just do it for ourselves. It's not equanimous. And self and other exist in relationship, dependently. There is no self without other. There is no other without self. We have to take both sides. So when it comes to the others, again, you're looking at your friends, the strangers, the enemies, and everyone. So everyone could be the guru, the Buddha, the bodhisattvas, and every being in all the 6 realms. So it could be insects, animals. You could even try and heal the environment itself.
So this is a little bit like the directly and the indirect, because directly our friends, enemies, strangers, indirect everyone else.
Everyone else. Yeah. So to give away your body in the Buddhist practice is like it's a mental exercise in selflessness. Because when you don't find a real owner of the body, you don't possess that body, do you? In fact, your body came from your parents. It's not yours. It was given to you. So having it, you can give it back to your parents. You can give it back to actually the lineage of your parents. Because you contain that lineage. All of us do. We contain a physical lineage of all the sentient beings that came before us and directly related to us. So now we give it back to them. So this involves, imagining your body is no longer yours. And you dedicate it to helping others. So it's a mental training which is aimed to shift our perspective from self-centeredness to compassionate service for others. Now you'll see in the text there's a warning there where you have to be at quite a high level before you can actually give your body. Because you'll see in the text that there's instances of people actually giving their body. So for some of us, we can give the body after death, right? We could go right now in this moment, I know there's people who need parts of the body. I can sign a document so that when I die, my eyes, my skin, different other parts of my body can go to others. So that's how you can give parts of your body. But also there are parts of, I've read stories.
Give blood.
You give blood now, so you can actually do it now, right? So whenever you do it, you want to bring this in, by giving of the blood, may it increase my relationship with all beings and lead us all to enlightenment. What we're doing is we're trying to give away everything lovely. And this is to inspire within us a sense of selfless love. And again, courage. So it's not, in fact, it's not how much we give away, but about how much love we put into what we're doing. Okay, is there anything anybody would like to ask? Anything interesting? I mean, it is interesting.
Oh, Francesca's just said about lamas like His Holiness extol the virtues of being like wisely selfish, considering ourselves so we can consider others.
Yes.
It took me a long time to get that shift and practice a bit more self-care.
Good on you, friend. Good on you. That's right. Yeah. So, some questions you might ask yourself, like, how can I apply this idea in everyday life?
Mm.
What can I give everyday life? Well, one really simple thing you can give is a smile. So His Holiness often encourages that, right? Just smile at a stranger. Just smile. Just give them that
It's his
sense of-
old stony face.
Yeah. But I got a few smiles.
But your time as well, because that's.
Yeah, this is the thing that, yeah. So many of us give time to our families. Many of us give time for people that we know who are unwell, sick, or in jail. We go and visit them. There's lots of ways we give. But the thing is you want to take this, like these ordinary ways of giving, and make it a practice of Dharma. Right? Otherwise, these virtuous ways of giving will keep us in cyclic existence. They're rooted in 8 worldly concerns. So you want to go beyond.
So when you say giving, you give without any thought of getting any return. Like when you say about 8 worldly concerns, not.
Well, not that. That's what
reputation.
we could give without the idea of an intrinsic return. So why are we giving? To become enlightened. So we do expect, we want something, right? We want enlightenment. But the enlightenment doesn't intrinsically exist, it's dependently arising. That's how it exists. All things exist like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when we sort of cling to the enlightenment, right? Or cling to the giving. That is problematic. Okay, let's do a short meditation. Get yourself comfortable in the seat. Take a deep breath. Exhale, and just center yourself. Now, the next time you inhale, imagine drawing in the essence of generosity. And whenever you exhale, imagine releasing attachment to possessions and self. We draw in the essence of generosity, we exhale a release of attachment. Now, what is true giving? What is generosity? It's not about quantity, but the love infused in each act. So how can we cultivate this love? By recognizing the interconnectedness of all of us. So like a river which nourishes countless plants along its banks, our acts of giving sustain the world around us. So what might happen if we gave without any expectation? We might discover that in giving, we receive far more than we lose. So why do we cling to things? often it's because of fear. So how can we overcome this fear? Mentality of poverty. We overcome this fear through practicing fearless love and courageous compassion. So imagine your heart as a wish-fulfilling jewel, radiating light that touches all beings. Imagine granting happiness to everyone you encounter. Through simple acts of kindness and generosity, you can. So how does giving transform us? Giving dissolves the boundaries between self and other. Giving reveals our true nature. What would happen if we saw every interaction that we have as an opportunity to give? Well, our lives might become an endless stream of generosity. Now remember, the practice of giving isn't about depleting yourself. It's about opening the heart. So how can you incorporate giving into your daily life? And just start small and watch as your capacity for generosity grows. And then breathe in through your nostrils and exhale through your mouth with your eyes open, and find yourself in front of the screen or in front of me. So we'll now look at the other side of the practice side of taking. So the practice of taking and giving is described as secret because it is challenging and suited for advanced practitioners. It involves using the breath to alternate the practices, like the techniques you do in Tantra. In fact, this is very close to Tantra, that's very similar. So it requires a sort of deep familiarity with compassion, correct beliefs, and imagination. So I told you before, when I first tried to do this, I did not have correct belief. I had the imagination. I had the compassion. I wanted to be more compassionate, but I had a wrong idea of self. And then, so it just collapsed after one breath. Again, so taking suffering isn't to inspire courageous compassion. So I put this picture of Mahatma Gandhi here because he emphasized that courage was the most admirable human trait, especially in practicing non-violence. So he says, non-violence is a tool of the brave, and it requires strength to endure without retaliation. So this courage is to stand firm in one's principles. Now, there are many benefits of compassionate taking. So first of all, it says your merit will increase. So of course it does. Your strength and courage increases. And you develop a very strong mind that can bear adversity with courage. You can see here, isn't it? The real focus here is on helping the other be free from suffering. We develop a gentle and courageous mind that transforms obstacles into opportunities for your spiritual growth. So unfavorable situations will appear beneficial. And this is true. I've discovered this myself. We will meet up with lots of unfavorable situations in our life. You do this practice, it just transforms the whole thing. When you're experiencing suffering, and you can, you remember the formula that you say to yourself, like for instance, may the suffering that I'm experiencing right now be a foundation for the suffering of all beings. And you breathe in. You've already got suffering. You're already experiencing suffering, right? So instead of getting away from it, you accept it. You go, like it's too late, right? It's on. You're on. So you've got it. So, okay, well, guess what? Every other sentient being has suffering too. They're no different than I am. They want to be free of it too. Well, give it to me. Let it rest on the foundation of my own suffering. And this becomes like a sort of a mental strength. So there are other benefits when taking. Like I said, your negative karma will be purified. Your compassion becomes stronger. And over time, your compassion will eventually transform into the universal compassion of a Buddha. So compassion is one of the major conditions required to develop the form body of a Buddha. So, we want to help others now. It's difficult. Buddhas don't even want to help anyone. They just naturally help. And that natural expression of helpfulness has come from way, way back now, like from where we are now, where we want to help. This wanting to help, these are the causes required for the form bodies of a Buddha. Because if you want to help people, it's just not enough to wish it, is it? It's not enough for a Buddha just to have the mind that is expressing all this concern. It's like, look, that ain't going to do it. I need a body. This is the way you get the body of a Buddha. And in this verse it says, I will take upon myself all the hurts and pains. The idea behind that is to reverse our self-centeredness by embracing compassion, because we work away from self-centeredness to other-centeredness. Others become the center of our wishes. So we say, upon myself, so this is where I made the mistake. So upon myself means giving back to egocentrism. Giving back to selfishness, giving back to self-centeredness. Because they cause the problem. Our self-centeredness, our egocentricity, our selfishness. This is the problems. These cause all the problems. So we've got a problem. We go, well, you're the cause of it. There, have it back. So So this is this mistake. I thought it meant self meant me. But it doesn't mean me.
The one trying to be a good, compassionate
Yeah,
meditator.
that's right. That's right. And now I'll put it all on me. And that's what we normally think. I put others first, others before me.
But on the self-cherishing mind.
That's right. We're putting it on the mind. The mind has caused these problems. So I'm going to give it back to that mind.
So would it be better to even say like others before egocentricity?
Yeah, that'd be right. That's right. That would be much more effective, isn't it? So, others before the sense of selfishness. You would have probably heard them, don't be selfish, right? Put others first. You go, oh yeah, it's selfishness. It's not me. It's the selfishness that's the problem. And of course, as growing up in the West, we always think, oh, like don't be selfish, like you are selfish. So we get this idea that we are the mental states. But we're not. Mental states are not us. We have mental states, but they're not us. And these mental states that have caused problems, we go, okay, well, that's the cause of the problem. It produces an effect. I want to give the effect back to the cause. So all the hurts means all the suffering of the 6 realms, and all the pains is referring to karma, delusion, and the cognitive obscurations. They're the problem makers. You cause me a problem, here's the effect back for you. Now, as you know, when we do the visualizations, right? So it's like the effect has come back to meet the cause. But when that happens, it's like in the visualization, of course, it's like a burst of energy. The white light goes back out. We're brought back in the suffering. The effect hits the cause. When that happens, what we normally say is, well, nothing will happen after that. But here, it's not nothing, it's the mind, because it's been placed on the mind. The mind doesn't become nothing. It's now freed. It's a natural expression of energy. Goes, whoa, shout like that in terms of love, compassion. What do you want? This mind can give it.
So Fran has a question. So, the thinking by me having, say, all of this food, may no other living being ever, lack food, may they also have all of this food. So, but it kind of reminds her of like when her mother said, finish your dinner, think of the starving children in Africa. And it's been quite hard to, so how do we shift our view from that old one?
Oh, I thought you were going to just, when you said that, I thought, like all the people in Africa, all the starving people in Africa, they're not separate from your mind. So when you eat the food, it's like you should think, well, now they're all satisfied. They're a part of me. I'm a part of them. We're not single entities. We're all the same in terms of Buddha nature. We're all the same in terms of existing in mere name. So it's like all the suffering of the sentient beings. They're my sufferings. Mine, but because they can only be apprehended through your mind.
Sorry, Eddie, I'm struggling.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When you say give back, what would it like give back to how?
You talking about the negativity part here? Yeah.
So
You give. So have you ever seen those films where something is done and then it's sort of like wound forwards and then you get the effect later on? Sometimes they fast forward, right? And you go, oh, look, or you got a little baby, child, and oh, look, now they're an old person. Yeah. Or you get a little seed, and then suddenly a plant grows up really quickly, flourishes, and then it decomposes.
Yeah.
So in the same way, like giving out, you just rewind it backwards. You give it back to the start. And the start is
Self-cherishing.
ignorance, right? But again, ignorance and self, they don't truly exist either. So that's why it's like empty.
So that's why it works.
That's why it works. Yeah. It's like it's always been empty. So the mind being empty of all the delusions, right? There's incredible energy in the mind that's free of all delusion. And this mind is empty of all the delusion, is full of all the good qualities. That goes back out.
Sorry, so when you're saying you're taking it on other people's suffering,
Mm-hmm.
so you're seeing the suffering of someone else
Yep.
because of their selfishness or something, and you're taking that on to your own corresponding quality.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So their suffering is caused by their selfishness, say.
That's
You're
right.
taking it onto your own
Selfishness.
selfishness.
That's right. You're using their suffering to destroy your own.
So I often, if there's suffering or a difficulty, there's this urge to retaliate. So I try and use that urge. Well, if you're going to retaliate, if you're going to go, ooh, I don't like that, what are you going to chuck it at? Not at the person, not at yourself, at the cause. So
That's
it's
right.
like you go with the emotional momentum.
Yeah, that's right. You take it. You accept it. Now, this is once you are suffering, you have the effect. You can't get away from that, right? It's happening. If you could destroy the cause beforehand, you wouldn't get the effect. But you have the effect. So you've got to, what are you going to do?
Use the
Use it.
experience, right?
Use your experience. This is, like I said, it's tremendous. Yes, it's a tremendous thing if you could just, like a little bit about suffering itself, that it's a dependent arising, therefore it's empty. There's no really true self here, self-dependent arises, blah, blah, blah. You got a good philosophical background or foundation. Then this can really work well. And especially, like I said, when there's no getting away from it, the only thing you can do is use your mind to help you, isn't it? So you use your own mind to accept, oh, this is happening, then how could it be good for me? Because there's nothing truly good or bad. But if you think this is truly bad, well, it's terrible for you. As anybody know who's had deep suffering and can't get away from it, right? It's terrible. But if you still think, like, what's the good? What's the good? And then oh my gosh, I could develop compassion from this. This could deepen my compassion and my courage to face great difficulty. Then I will. Because I want to be courageous. I want to be compassionate. I want that. So I'll do it. I think it was Viktor Frankl who said, like, if you have a reason, a person who has a reason for suffering can bear any suffering. All suffering is bearable if you can make it reasonable to yourself.
What purpose?
And give it a purpose. So we take upon ourselves all the hurts and pains. So as you might be able to make this out, but there's a figure in the center, it's Christ holding the cross. And this is the story of Christ. He's going to take on all the sins of the world, all the causes of suffering. He's saying, give it to me. I'll take it. And basically that's what a bodhisattva is doing. And that's his idea. It's like, I'm in the world to bring an end to the suffering of all beings. He knows he can't do it right now because he's not a Buddha. And even if he was a Buddha, the only way you could do that is to talk to people and inform them about the cause of the suffering. Because we have to do it ourselves. We each have to carry our own cross. We have our own cross to bear. And intelligence can show you how to do it. You have to be intelligent about it, not make these the cross intrinsically existed, like real and true, because it doesn't exist that way. It looks that way, it's not that way.
This may seem a bit repetitive or obvious, but like, because this is mind training, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the is it sort of speaking to this, is it pointing out like the way you help yourself when you're in crisis, you know, when your mind is just dangerous to yourself? So you think about the suffering of others and you bring it upon yourself, but your real intention initially isn't for them, it's for your mind, to bring your own mind to a place of
resolute.
Sorry?
Resolute,
or like to, I have heard it here, you know, that like the self-cherishing is like a big negative, and bringing the suffering of others is another negative, and two negatives make a positive. So it's like a dynamic. It's like in order to resolve your own mental torture, you
use this
because it's your self-cherishing that's actually causing this torture, because you're buying into, you know, oh, this is all happening to me, and you know, it's just horrendous and I'm stuck. So knowing that others suffer and want to help them, that is, it's almost like a metaphysical thing. Is that what this is? It's a
circuit breaker.
Like a circuit breaker.
Well, I've always found that the thing is you just do it.
Yes.
And then you find out. But like I said, it's really good to have like, you know, a philosophical background or a foundation for it, so you get some sort of, like it's not wishful thinking, right? Because we have an understanding of how phenomena exist.
But also at the same time, like Geshe Zopa said, his teacher said, it's okay, you're not going to get the disease from them.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, but that's
now, but if you get really good at it, you will be able to get the disease from them, become, you know, a great bodhisattva, you will be able to get the disease from them, but it won't hurt you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wishful thinking to start with, but it can result in something that amazing.
Yeah, it can. It doesn't for all, because you have to have a very strong karmic connection to the person you're doing it with. You have to have a very strong mind. So it's not on our level. Forget about it. That's not going to happen. You're going to need calm abiding, special insight, wisdom realizing selflessness, and then you do something like this. And you know you're not your body, so the sufferings can take place on the body. It doesn't harm your mind.
But what it does is it gives us courage, because we go through this tormenting experience and come out the other side. So we have incredible courage.
Yeah. So there are many methods we can use to put to an end to our own suffering. You can ask yourself, who does that benefit? You go, well, me. I'm putting an end to my own suffering. And how can you do that? So, well, I can remember impermanence. I can remember selflessness. I can remember renunciation. These are all great. All minds, you have a path, and that will work for you. Right? Great. Can you become a Buddha like that? No. Because Buddhahood is rooted in this deep compassion that wants to put an end to the suffering of all beings. Now, when you've done this for yourself with the impermanence and the selflessness, you know this works. It works for you. Everybody is selfless. Everybody is impermanent. They all exist in mere name, just like I do. There's no difference. It's just your focus is turned away from self to other.
You sort of engaging with it because you have an understanding, however
Yeah.
limited, that it's your self-cherishing and you are not your self-cherishing.
That's right. That's
So
right.
that's the sort of key to it.
That's right.
Can you repeat that, Eddie?
So Sandy was saying we can engage in this because we're working against the self-cherishing, and we know that we are not the self-cherishing. And we're not. So of my mothers, right? So these living beings are my mothers and have shown me great kindness. This is, of course, like all sentient beings have been my mothers. So you sort of think of like they've all shown me great kindness, just like the mother of this present life has. They're all drowning in the ocean of samsara. They're all experiencing unbearable suffering, life after life. And man, wouldn't it be good if they were free from it?
And they have no refuge.
And they have no refuge. It's like me. You know, they don't know what to do. And, I mean, we all know people, and most people don't know what to do they? In the face of suffering, man, we all collapse. We run off to the doctors, and they can't really help us. They can't get to the deep cause. They can work around the conditions, but then it's up to us.
Well, they say, do you want me to call someone for you?
Yeah. Can I transfer you to Lifeline?
So, like I said, again, if you look at this, like I said, the thing is, it's courage. So courage is the big thing, but it's along with that comes the compassion. The courage to deal with your own suffering. And the way you work with your own suffering is to acknowledge the suffering of others. You've already got suffering. You know everybody else has too. You know you want to be free. You know everybody wants to be free. You go, give me yours. So again, it's just like, if you look at this, can you actually take somebody's suffering off them?
No.
You can't. It's an attitude. It's a mental attitude. You're trying to create a new mental attitude in the face of suffering. Courage. I think I remember Kinsa Rinpoche, he laughed about this, and so he said, but wouldn't it do so much harm to me? Because this is the new age thing, is that we just want the good. We don't want the bad. Buddhism flips that on its head. But he said something like, he went, ho, 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 first of all, cracked up laughing. And then he said, don't you think if the Buddha, who's a fully enlightened being and practices, could take the suffering of sentient beings, he would have? So how do you think you're going to do it? It's an ordinary sentient being. Like it's an attitude. In fact, we should think of this as attitude training. Langri Tangpa's 8 verses of attitude training. So the taking. Oneself, take your future sufferings, effects, origins and seeds, and the obscurations. So as you can probably see, these, and you think of Lama Atisha, right? 13 years training.
30 years training on.
In the mind of enlightenment and doing this practice, the giving and taking. That was the big thing that he brought back to Tibet. And when I remember, I go, yeah, well, think about it. A lot of different sufferings, a lot of causes, a lot of, how deep down can you go? Past and present, in terms of others, friends, strangers, enemies, everyone. So even the Aryas are not fully, they're not Buddhas, are they? They understand enlightenment, so they think, okay, well, so what's the problem there? What can I take from an Arya being? It's the cognitive obscurations. I can imagine taking from the areas of cognitive obscurations, because that's all the suffering they have left. And so you go really high and you're really low. Because if you're in cyclic existence, you're experiencing some sort of suffering. Keep an eye on the time and going, okay. So we have to skip what's interesting. What's interesting? Let's meditate. Get comfortable in your chair, folks. Just adjust your posture, make sure your shoulders are relaxed, your back is straight. Breathe in a little bit more intensely through your nostrils and then exhale. And then just center your awareness in the present moment. And as you inhale, imagine just drawing in the suffering of all beings as a dark smoke. And then exhale that. So what types of pain do you perceive in the world around you? So allow your compassion to arise naturally, embracing the suffering without any judgment. And now as you exhale, imagine releasing radiant light, carrying your joy and well-being to everyone. So let your heart expand with loving kindness. Just wish for others' liberation from suffering. Let it go out into the world. And now just for a moment, ask yourself, how does my own self-cherishing limit my capacity for compassion? Like a tightly closed fist that cannot receive or give. Self-centeredness restricts our ability to connect deeply with others. So what would it feel like to truly take on another's pain? And just for a few brief moments, allow yourself to experience a sensation like that. It won't be comfortable. But in doing so, you build the courage to face suffering directly. Then reflect, how can giving away your own happiness paradoxically increase it? Notice how your own joy multiplies. So what are the barriers to generosity that you can release? So Tong Len, or giving and taking, is not just a meditation, it's a way of life. Try to see how you can bring the practice into your daily interactions. Let each breath become an opportunity for transformation. Gradually dissolve the illusion of separation between self and other. Now breathing in a little bit more deeply. Exhale, allow your eyes to open. This, I think, yeah, this is a 7-point mind training. So he says, practice in combination, both giving and taking. Commence the taking from your side, begin with yourself, and place these two astride the breath. So see, this verse is really focused around the giving and taking practice, Tonglen practice. It's a transformative exercise in compassion. So remember these terms like attitude training, attitude transformation. That's what's really going on here. This is method. We're just using a method to transform our attitude.
What does the commence the taking from your side mean?
Mean that you begin with yourself. Be compassionate towards yourself, in other words, first. You need to look up, we need to look after ourselves. Once you become proficient and healthy, now I can move to others. In fact, over a little bit of time, you can place others in front of you before you. But it's a process. So like you're saying, like you're saying, Deborah, our parents used to say, put others first. But something we try, and then oftentimes we feel guilty because we can't, or these funny sort of things, right? But mainly this is because we haven't been instructed also to really care for ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to be kind to ourselves.
Practice on ourselves
to practice,
first.
to be good to ourselves. And your mum said, just be good to them. Like, okay. So the verse is really emphasizing like a selfless dedication of both happiness and suffering for the benefit of all beings. So when happy, dedicate the joy to others. When suffering, wish to absorb the pain of others. So in terms of the joy, I've noticed myself that when I go out to concerts or anything by myself, it's never as pleasurable as if I took somebody else with me. So I like to share the joys that I experience when I go out to concerts and any event. And I know I always feel better if I do. So this shows you that's on the joy side. On the other side, the compassionate side is, well, no one can see you imagining taking on more sufferings. But when you do it, your own suffering becomes much more meaningful. Suffering suddenly becomes meaningful because in my own imagination, it's not just mine, it's I'm taking others. It's just imagination.
So I can see how this would actually give us a lot of courage, just with dealing actually with others suffering, because when others are suffering, we kind of recoil.
Yeah.
Like I remember at a school reunion, and so 30, 40 years later, and there was a woman that had clearly gone through, I don't know how long of being like a crack addict. She was completely a wreck. And I recoiled from her. I'm so ashamed that I did, but it's because just looking at her, you didn't want to experience that. You didn't want to have that, just that tiny small bit of a reminder of suffering. And so because I couldn't take that, then of course, so nobody talked to her the whole night because everybody recoiled.
Fear, isn't it?
It's fear and aversion and contagious.
Yeah.
But it's just, you don't, just even seeing suffering makes you suffer and you don't want it. And so then how are you ever going to be courageous to help anybody? It's impossible.
Yeah. And
You have to practice.
Yeah, that's right. You have to practice. And this is the practice.
If not me, then who?
Yeah, exactly. If not now, then when?
What's that from?
There's a Jewish master, Hillel or something. So in summary, this is really about changing one's attitude. Just like Mickey said, the attitude of turning away, we want to look, we want to accept it. Sentient beings suffer. Suffering exists. We need to be courageous in the face of that. To put an end to our own requires great courage, let alone trying to help someone else. We need to challenge all the fears that come up. And this is all related to this practice of tonglen, or giving and taking, and it's related to what's called the perfection of concentration. Because it does require concentration, right? There's some instances like, whoops, not looking. We quickly we divert the mind.
So we've got to remember to actually do this practice, and like, if it's hard enough to watch your breath in meditation, let alone watch your breath and do this practice.
So the main idea behind this verse is really focusing on the meditation practice of giving and taking. That's what we've been talking about. It teaches taking on others' suffering to overcome our own selfishness and fears, and to offer them everything that they need, imaginatively, for happiness. So the practice is done with compassion and love, and it can be synchronized with the breath. You know, just we breathe in, we imagine we're taking on the suffering of all beings. We breathe out, we imagine we're giving everything delightful. So it is possible. I mean, many, many people have done this, change their attitudes. And really, it's about courage. So up on our website, we have materials. So have a look at page 10, Transforming Problems, and page 1 to 4, The Practice of Tonglen by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So coming up, we're going to be looking at taking happiness as the path, shortcomings of attachment and selfish affection, and this verse 8 is talking about maintaining a purity of practice. And there, of course, we talk about the different types of purity and the different objects that we can engage with that sort of sully the purity of the mind. So, let's dedicate your willingness to listen to this material, to engage it, the energy we've put into it. Think, due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, not yet born and rise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase evermore. And as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to dispel the sorrows of the world. And now the prayer for Rinpoche's swift return. In holding and spreading the Buddha's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discarded. Incomparable and enduring to you are magnificent. Thank you everyone online, and thank you people in the room.